Good evening. This is the Talking Puck Podcast. My name is Sean Coles. I'm here with my co-host Ryan Lake, and it's been a few weeks.
Been a little bit.
Yeah, shit happens.
Holiday break,
holidays, sick, life. It all comes down to it. But you know what? That means that there's just more to talk about. So we'll kick it off, as we normally do, with a quick rundown of the Canadian teams and kind of how they're doing. And we'll start off again, as we normally do, with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And they're about in a playoff spot right now. They're a little bit out right now because they haven't been playing and they lost their last game. But, fuck, they are close, man.
Well, they were tied pretty much, right?
Yeah.
But when they come back, they're going to have, 4 or 5 games or 6 games in hand on Boston. So, they're getting points. It's not always a win, but they're trying to hold off. That Winter Classic was a good game.
Oh, that was an unbelievable game, despite the fact they gave up all those late goals.
Yeah, I forget who I was talking to, but someone was like, "Oh, they had such an amazing goal in overtime," and the first thing they said was, yes, as amazing of a goal it was, it shouldn't have happened because they shouldn't have let those 4 goals in.
No, it shouldn't have happened. I think the last goal was a lot of luck, though, because that puck gets out of the zone if Riley's stick doesn't magically disintegrate on him.
Right, and there was arguing of interference, whatnot, but
is the goalie interference thing that pisses me off.
It's the league's moneymaker, though. They're not gonna call that to end the game. They want to go to overtime. They want to make it a classic.
I get that. It's hit and miss, and it's hard to know where the line is.
Right.
Because you see one that gets called back for Calgary minorly bumping the goalie.
And I just have a feeling that's because that's Kadri. He's just got that reputation with the refs.
Oh, my God. Kadri gets called for everything. And there's no benefit of the doubt with him. Ever since he handled McDavid like he did, there's been no benefit of the doubt, which is absolute crap.
And he is very hot-headed. He's a very hot-headed person.
He plays on the edge.
So when some things frustrate them, you see him, he does kind of get very chirpy to the refs. So I feel like they kind of just have a...
Well, he gets chirpy to the players.
Well, pretty much chirpy to everyone, but I feel like he, ever since going back to that throat slash gesture last year is pretty much when I started seeing a lot of these calls going against him instead of going for him.
They call nothing against him, and pretty well every little thing he does, they call him on it. And which, I get doing that for a couple of games to send a message to him, but enough's enough. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Really, really and truly, it's getting to be a little ridiculous. But, that game was just unbelievable. And the fact that Toronto has gone from being the worst team in the league, and they were bad the last season and a half. They were truly bad. To go from being that bad to at the point where they probably should be in the playoffs.
The second half of the season is going to tell a lot, right?
Absolutely.
If they keep playing the way they do, I think they'll sneak in 7th or 8th.
Well, no, I don't think they will. The problem with that is that the Metropolitan Division has been so strong.
They have been really strong.
So I don't know that they can get the wild card spots. They will probably have to get one of the top 3 spots in the Atlantic Division.
Which Montreal, I think, for sure is going to get one of them.
They'll probably be top of that division. No doubt about that. But right now, I think it's like Ottawa, who's pretty well level on points with Toronto.
Right. Yeah,
so it's gonna be a race to the finish this year, I think, which is great. It's great for Leafs fans. It's great for the NHL.
Reminds me of a few years ago where it was came down to Montreal-Toronto, the last game of the season, and all Toronto had to do was win to make the playoffs, and Montreal beat them. I was actually at that game.
I remember going back further than that. It was probably 06 or 07. They made some major push at the end of the season to get in, and all New Jersey had to do was win against, I don't even remember who they were playing. I just remember New Jersey because they didn't play Marty Brodeur. They played their backup, and shocker, they lost. And I never forgave them for that. I'm not going to lie. But the one thing that the Leafs have to do now, though, and just to stick with them a little longer, is that they need to beat Montreal.
Yeah, it's been, 3 years now?
13 games!
Yeah.
I know for a good portion of that they've been very bad. they're not bad anymore.
And it's been, what, 3 or 4 games this year now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's...
And they played a Canadiens team that had like 7 players missing. That was the time to win.
It was basically them against St. John's and Carey Price.
Oh, man, I couldn't believe it. But, moving on to, Montreal at this point, good on them for still keeping the record up with that many players out.
Which is one thing, everyone's like, oh, it's all because of Carey Price. It's all because of Carey Price.
A lot of it is because of Carey Price.
But they have 7 AHL guys or, all their top
I would
scorers.
say more prospects.
Right.
Prospects are coming up, and they're making a push.
But they're still scoring like 4 or 5 goals a game. So even if you actually look at Price's numbers over the last month, he was more average than he was amazing.
That's very true.
His numbers were like $8.99 or something like that for the month of November or December.
He did not have a good month.
And they still had all these wins because they're getting secondary, third, and fourth line scoring, which they need to keep up. But I mean, you got guys like Pacioretty who has turned it on a lot lately.
Yeah, he has, absolutely.
But you got guys like Deneau, Petrie, these guys that don't score very often who are contributing. And Deneau, I think right now is like their top center, and was like their 4th line to start the season. When you have guys like Desharnais, Galchenyuk, all these guys are out, Markov's out, and somehow they're still managing to put up points.
Interestingly, apparently Plekanec, who has not had a good season, could be on the trade block.
He's not playing tonight.
Really?
It didn't say that he was sick or anything like that, but he wasn't at practice.
Healthy scratch.
I didn't see. It didn't say what he was at the time, but I don't know if it's a healthy scratch or if. But he does have a pretty big contract, though. So,
that could be hard to move.
Yeah,
unless you pray to the hockey gods that he gets taken by Las Vegas.
Yeah, which all the mock drafts that I've seen is Montreal's player that goes to Las Vegas is Plekanec. Him and his turtleneck.
But and like I said, good on Montreal for keeping that up. But what I wonder is that if they actually have a team that can really make a push for the Stanley Cup, like push comes to shove, you put them up against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the East. That's not even before you get to the final.
Oh, and based off how they are right now, I don't see them
right now. No, but
no.
But them at full strength. Like I know they got Carey Price, but
the thing is see with Pittsburgh's on a whole nother level. But Montreal seems to always play well against Pittsburgh in the playoffs. There's a lot of years where you look at them and Montreal's, so you never. It really comes down to
that's true. The playoffs, anything goes.
Yeah,
anything can happen.
Like look at was it 2007 or whatever year when Edmonton made it to the finals as like the 8th seed.
Yeah,
and anything can happen. But I mean,
or like what was it 2012? I think it was when LA was the 8th seed.
Oh yeah,
and they just steamrolled
everyone. And that was the year they beat New Jersey in the final, right? Yep. Yeah. No, it's the playoffs are going to be a whole other ball game, but Montreal is starting to get healthy. This week they're supposed to get Markov back. They're supposed to get, I think, Galchenyuk back.
How many years does Markov have?
I'm not sure, but he's getting up there in age. Like he's not young.
No, he's 38 or something
38
like that?
or 39.
He's one of your top 3 defensemen.
But he still plays and puts up good numbers.
That's true. He did have a lot of injury problems around kind of his prime, so I wonder if that's maybe given him license to extend his career.
It could, but not being a crazy Montreal fan, they're fun to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, they just the stuff that they can do with these guys, like McCarron. Great.
Yeah.
Played for the London Knights, and he came in against the Leafs. He scored a goal. He had a nice fight with was it Martin?
Oh, with Matt Martin.
Yeah. They fought for like 5 minutes, and afterwards they kind of both just tapped each other on the helmet and skated away.
Did you see the other fight that was happening at the same time, though? The one guy decided to try and take on Freddie Gauthier.
Yeah.
Who's ginormous. Yeah. He started wailing on him.
Well, McCarron's like 6'6" or 6'7" or something, too. He's kind of scrawny, but he's a pretty big guy.
Martin's a tank, though.
Yeah.
Man. You don't take him on. Well, which is why I liked in the Centennial Classic when he was chirping with what's his name, Derek Roy, I think is who he was chirping with in the other box and everything. That was entertaining, and it's all entertaining to watch that. But we'll move it along here, keep things moving to the Ottawa Senators. You know what, they're doing pretty well, but again they're sitting pretty well on level points with Toronto. So they're doing better than people thought they would, but I wonder if maybe the floor is starting to fall out beneath them a little bit.
There was an article on like TSN or Sportsnet or one of the million different places I follow, but they basically they're going to be lucky to hold on because with how good the other divisions are, unless they actually make a solid push, they're going to finish a nice season that might make it to the any other year might make it to the playoffs, but with how well other teams are playing, it's not. I don't think it's going to be enough for them.
Well, it seems like Boston's making a half-decent push lately as well. Bergeron's starting to turn it on a bit after a slow start.
Yeah.
So, what was interesting, though, when I was hearing this, is that they're having an issue with Bobby Ryan. They haven't said what the issue is. He was a healthy scratch the other night, so it wasn't an internal suspension. But he was scratched for a reason. Now, he makes, $7.5 million a year?
He's a great hockey player, but it seems like there's been a few...
But is he? Do his stats really hold that up to the point where he should be making $7.5 mil? You say 5.5 to 6, I say okay.
7.5 is pushing it. Like that's like Crosby.
I wonder if that extra 1.5 to 2 million is for him to stay in Ottawa.
Probably they probably did that to make it that he didn't have to go sign somewhere else.
But
to help with the escrow.
But Ottawa can't afford just to pay him the 7.5, even if he's not producing. They have an internal cap. They don't have money. They're not like the Leafs, who can just pay people to go away. Not many teams could afford to do that, but it's Ottawa especially. They are definitely an internal cash-strapped team. And when you're paying like over $14.5 million a year for both Phaneuf and Bobby Ryan, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
That's going out the door on two, what I would say, somewhat, maybe not mediocre, but they're not your best players.
No, but it's amazing, speaking of Phaneuf, how the moment he got traded, like I don't even think I've really heard of Phaneuf since he got traded.
No, he's out of the fishbowl that
he was Toronto. The biggest, most under fire player, and now he goes to Ottawa, you barely hear anything about him.
Well, because it's Ottawa.
Yeah.
Literally, unless you're in Ottawa, no one really cares.
Yeah, maybe somewhat in Quebec, but yeah, it's but he's not playing bad. But I mean, he's not worth what his contract is either.
He's not. I don't think he's really been worth any sort of money since his first few years in the league.
When he used to do those exciting double Dions.
Exactly, the double Dion when he would do a slap shot and actually hit the net.
Yeah,
like you would see, he would do. Like wind up for a massive slap shot. Next thing you know, it'd be hitting the boards. Hit the net, man. Oh my god! At least it wasn't Thomas Caberlet who never shot. He just passed the puck.
Yeah, Caberlet was bad for that.
He was. But instead of talking about Ottawa any longer, because yes, they are a little boring, we're gonna go on to the Winnipeg Jets, who have not had a good last few days ever since Laine has been out with a concussion.
Yeah, he got hurt pretty bad.
He got rocked. He got knocked the fuck out.
And did you see McCabe who hit him? Did you see his face afterwards? From hitting Laine's visor, he like broke a bone and like he had a black eye and he had stitches all down his face.
You're sure that wasn't also from the cross check that Scheifele gave him right to the face?
No, if you actually watch it in slow mo, you see when he hits his visor, it splits open.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
I didn't see that part.
But in other Winnipeg news too, today Tyler Myers is taking a leave of absence from the team. He was granted a personal leave.
Interesting.
Didn't say what for. I don't know if there's something going on with his family.
Most likely, but hopefully everything's all right there. But just to stay on Laine for a minute there, because first off, that's a bad pass from Scheifele.
That was a suicide pass.
Oh, that
was the first suicide pass of 2017.
That was the definition of what Don Cherry would call a suey. That was the definition of it, but totally clean hit.
Oh yeah, it was clean hit. Like the contact with the head was after the body. It was because both heads jerked forward, and again, it wasn't like he tried to hit him in the head. It was his head that hit his head. So it was a clean hit. He went down like a sack of potatoes.
I think he was knocked out as soon as
I think there was some sort of, maybe not completely knocked out, but maybe he didn't know where he was. Kind of saw stars. Yeah. But he's probably going to be out for a little while.
You know the Disney birds that go around? That's what he was feeling.
That plus like in Star Wars when you go light speed and you see like that's what I think he was seeing. But hopefully he gets better soon because he's fun to watch, regardless of what anyone thinks of him. He is fun to watch.
He is. The only issue I have though is the Winnipeg fans that go, "Oh, it's a dirty hit, and it should be taking hits like that out of the league."
No,
that is as clean a hit as you get. And if you take a hit like that out, you got to take it all hitting, and after that, the game's not really as entertaining.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a dirty hit by any means. He didn't charge him. He didn't elbow him. He didn't hit him in the head. It was a clean hit that they ended up hitting head to head. And maybe if they didn't hit head to head, it wouldn't have got a concussion. Maybe if he didn't hit his head off the ice, he wouldn't have got a concussion. But it was a clean, like, shoulder to chest, kind of chest to chest hit, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Hopefully Winnipeg can bounce back a bit, but their season is just going from bad to worse, it seems. And if he's out for any length of time, like the last I checked, their record was under 500. They are a team that should be over 500 and probably in a playoff spot this year. Let's put it this way. If Edmonton is in one of the top few spots in the Pacific, Winnipeg should at least be challenging for a spot.
At least in third or fourth in the Central.
Yeah.
Because, teams like Chicago and Dallas and
whatnot
are...
Well, even Chicago hasn't been that well, though.
Not recently,
or has been that good, I mean.
They've been pretty good all year, but...
They've been riding some hot goaltending and high shooting percentages, which makes me wonder if maybe Chicago's on the downswing now.
Well, until their GM kind of finds out a way to improve them at the trade deadline, and they're going to win the cup again.
Will. Yeah, probably.
But the other thing, interesting news about the Winnipeg Jets this week was Brock Lesnar wearing the Winnipeg jersey.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And going into the locker room and stepping on the logo at center ice.
Man, they need to put up a sign that says, "Do not step on the logo."
Someone put something really interesting on one of the comments on TSN, and it was like, if you don't want people to step on it, why have a giant logo in the middle of your floor?
That is a fair point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's a logo on the floor and you're in the team's dressing room, maybe don't step on the logo.
Well, I mean, he's a football player / MMA fighter / WWE wrestler. So I don't think he kind of...
juice head.
Well, no, to be fair, what he got caught with was an estrogen blocker. It wasn't even steroids.
Oh.
Don't know what it's for.
An estrogen blocker?
Yeah, don't know what it's for, but it wasn't actually steroids that he was caught for.
It makes me think of dodgeball when the one Girl Scout team got kicked out because the one girl had beaver tranquilizers.
It's the same thing that John Jones got caught for, too, as well. They both got suspended for a year.
What it does.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it hides other than estrogen. But why they're taking estrogen pills, I don't know.
Who knows?
It's a little off topic.
But anyways, moving forward here from Winnipeg, we'll go to the Calgary Flames, who have seen a quite significant turnaround from earlier in the season.
That's because Brian Elliott's been winning some games finally.
Finally. Oh, man, that guy couldn't save a puck.
He couldn't save a beach ball.
Oh, man. He hit anything towards him. He'd flap like a landed fish.
Which is funny because this is a little bit off topic, but Jake Allen in St. Louis isn't playing well either. He's been pulled 2 out of his last 4 starts, so
that's not good.
Don't know what's going on, but
maybe. Well, he's probably getting used to being the guy. Right?
Yeah, he was instead of sharing the load.
Well, same thing as Anderson, right, in Toronto. I think at this point he's on pace to play 70 games.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because their backups just are terrible.
Speaking of, they also got, was it McElhenney?
Yes.
Who was also garbage in Columbus.
No, he wasn't bad this season. Last season he was terrible. This season he's been good.
The last game, I should say, he was garbage, and that's the reason why they lost.
And put him on waivers.
Put him on waivers, yeah. But no, the Calgary Flames have been, they're still, they're not quite there, but they're winning a lot more, and every week they seem like they're improving. They're better defensively. They're getting top scoring, which they weren't having at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely.
Like Goudreau's finally scoring some more.
And they had a decent week last week. They beat the Avs. Well, these days everyone should be beating the Avs.
Apparently, yeah.
They're pretty terrible right now. And then they split the home and home with the Canucks, which, it's good. It's a good week. They finished 2-1.
Yeah.
And kept the goals low for the most part. At least they weren't over.
And when they beat the Canucks, like, what was it, 6-game win streak or something like that too?
Yes. Yeah, the Canucks were doing well, but we'll get to them in a minute there. But anyways, it's good to see that Calgary's back on track because, with the talent they've got, they should be doing pretty well and challenging for a playoff spot. Whether or not they should be in a playoff spot is a different question.
They're young, too.
They are very young. So Sam Bennett is going to be huge for them. Everyone goes on about Sean Monahan. I think Sam Bennett is their real steal.
Wasn't Sam Bennett the one who scored the 4 goals last year or the year before?
Yes.
He's worth what he's being paid right now.
Right now, yes, but I think down the road he's going to be like another Mark Scheifele.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because Scheifele took a few years before he started getting as good as he is now.
Oh, the first year Scheifele was sent back down to the minors. He went back to the OHL and developed his game.
He must have played in the AHL as well.
I'm not sure if he did. I know he played in the OHL for sure.
Yeah, I know he was sent back down at least once. But, so it's good to see Calgary doing well, and hopefully that continues because more Canadian teams in the playoffs, the better. But moving along here, we will move on to the Edmonton Oilers, who aren't doing too bad lately. They're, interestingly enough, I saw this. It was an article written on Sportsnet where they were saying that Pat Maroon is essentially doing the job right now that Milan Lucic was brought in to do.
I read that article too, and it's true. I mean, did you see McDavid's insane kind of deke through defense and then fire it over to Maroon for the tap in? And was Maroon had a hat trick that game as well?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's not hard to have a hat trick when you got McDavid.
When all you have to do is just put your stick on the ice and tap the puck in.
Pretty much. Well, did you see the? I think it was against Montreal when Mitch Marner essentially carried the puck around all of the Montreal players.
Yeah, and then threw it out front.
Yeah, for JVR just to tap
it in.
He literally didn't do anything. He just kind of went like that.
I did see that.
And JVR is just kind of going, thank you.
but
yeah, it's interesting to see that happen because you could have gotten you're getting the same productivity out of a guy that you already had without paying him the money that you're paying to Lucic.
Yeah, but nobody expected him to be like that because, to be fair, before this season he was pretty...
That's true.
He was more known for his physicality than he was for his offensive abilities.
AKA fighting.
So, I don't know. I mean, Lucic still I don't think is a bad pickup for them because it gives them grit for the playoffs. It gives him that leadership who's been to the Stanley Cup, who has that playoff experience that a lot of these...
Well, he's got a ring too.
Yeah, we're Boston. But a lot of these guys in Edmonton, when they do make the playoffs, remember I told you at the beginning of the season, my prediction was Edmonton was going to finish 4th or 5th.
Yeah, and they're beating that prediction right now. We'll see if they continue, but
Lucic is going to bring, even if he doesn't produce as much on ice, he's going to have that, that quality kind of experience that a lot of these guys at Edmonton don't have.
Well, none of them do, unless it's at a lower level.
Right. So he's definitely going to pay off. Whether or not that's worth the contract that he signed, who knows?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think he'll ever live up to that contract. That's the problem with free agent contracts. Is that 9 times out of 10, especially for the big name guys, they get paid more money than they're actually worth and get more contract length.
Yeah, and a lot of times the only reason why they got those is because they played well in the system they were in.
Yeah.
And they go to a new system, they don't perform as well. And it's just...
I still think that Lucic should have stayed in L.A., personally. I think that was a great fit for him.
He plays that West Coast kind of style of offense and defense. But, I mean, he seemed to fit more on a team like L.A. than he does right now with Edmonton, but maybe they're just trying to find where he needs to play more. I don't know.
I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe he gets traded down the line. If they don't like him, and if they get a good deal, they're a team. Edmonton is a very quick team, and yeah, Lucic has got some good wheels on him, and he plays a heavy game, which is good. But you can get a heavy game at a lesser price.
Yeah, I can see them trading him. Now, I don't know if they're going to be contending come trade deadline because, like I said, I don't know if they're going to get rid of him because they want that kind of experience for the postseason.
Yeah, I see them being buyers. To be honest, I don't see them being sellers at this point.
So unless they get some crazy steal to get rid of him, I don't see it happening at least this year. Maybe next year if they're not, if this is a fluke. But if they're still in a position they are now come deadline, I don't see them getting rid of any of these big guys, especially Lucic.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's good that he's there. He does offer Edmonton a lot, but yeah, I don't know if he sees out that contract. personally.
It's a big contract, especially for his age too, right? So
maybe Las Vegas takes it. One can hope. But we're going to go on to our final Canadian team here, the Vancouver Canucks. And hey, for once we've actually got some positive stuff to talk about with them.
They were on a 5 or 6 game winning streak, and they weren't the dumpster fire that we've been saying.
Finally, because what a difference these weeks have made. Because I'm pretty sure the last time we did a show, they were a dumpster fire. We're like, we're not even going to talk about these guys anymore because they're a dumpster fire. Yeah,
but the thing, I think, they won 6 games. So now what I think they're doing is they're just setting themselves up for failure. Because now I think they're going to get... Benning's going to get into...
Sending away more draft picks.
We're winning games. We're gonna buy at the deadline because we're gonna compete.
We gotta make a push for the playoffs.
We didn't make the playoffs. We have no picks anymore. That's how I honestly feel it's gonna go with how it's been in Vancouver. I mean, unless they shock the world and they win a bunch of games from here until then and barely lose. But
Bo Horvat though has been stepping up. He's their all-star as well. I'm so happy to see that.
Another London night.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's good to always see those guys.
We've talked about him saying that he's pretty much the lone bright spot, and he wasn't really performing as well in the beginning of the year. But now he's turned it on. He's playing really well. He's playing as the Bo Horvat we remember.
He needs the ice time, and I haven't looked. I don't know if he's getting the ice time that he needs and that he should be getting because he's got to develop. And I know you want to rag on the Sedins and play them as much as you can since they're your best players. They're 36. You got to limit their ice time a little bit,
especially when they're not producing as much as they used to.
Yeah, exactly. You play someone like Bo Horvat. He's a big guy. He's gonna go through players to score, But see what happens. Again, it's been a couple of weeks, but it could very quickly go back to being a dumpster fire.
Well, look at Columbus. Columbus won 16 games in a row, and now they've lost 4 of 5.
Ooh, so they really?
Yeah, I think they've only, or 3 of 4. They've only, ever since they lost that streak, they've only won once, and they've lost 3 or 4 times. So
I kind of wondered about them because, again, Columbus is a team that, unless they're getting phenomenal goaltending, they basically rode... For the most part. Now, this isn't the entirety, but they basically rode very hot goaltending and a very hot power play.
Yes. And scoring from guys who don't normally score a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So unless that continues, you're probably not going to win very many games.
No. And Bobrovsky was out for 1 or 2 of the games because he's got the flu or something, and they shipped out their backup, their put on waivers their backup goaltender. So their other backup got the start for one of the games as well.
They've got some guys in the minors that they like, apparently, so that's why they felt okay to ship out McCallaheny, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
So I'm not hugely surprised by that. But,
people call him C-Mac.
C-Mac?
C-Mac.
Well then. But, you know what? With Vancouver, hopefully things continue to go well, but this is one of those years where they need to tank a bit. I think they need to bottom out, and unless they're going to get some phenomenal pick between 4 and 10, what's the point in them winning?
Yeah,
I know it sucks and it's hard to dump these expensive players that you've got, but you got to do something.
Yeah, and they don't want to do that because they feel like they owe it to the Sedins, but it means enough's enough.
The Sedins are 36.
Yeah.
Time to trade them.
It's time to think of life after the Sedins.
Absolutely. You find a team that can take on the cash, hold back 50% of whatever they're making, which I think is until, the end of next season or something like that?
2018, I think.
Yeah. You get them to where they can win. You need to at this point because they're not the future of the franchise.
No, they were the franchise, and that ship sailed.
Absolutely, that ship sailed years ago, and their chance to win was in 2011. They didn't do it, and tough shit. It's time to move forward.
And it's something that I don't feel the Canucks. But again, like we always say with the Canucks, we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If it goes back to being a dumpster fire, we just won't talk about them.
Yeah. Or we just say, I told you so.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, I do my I told you so dance. But anyways, moving along from the Canadian teams, the big thing over the Christmas holidays, as it always is the World Junior Championships.
It was fun to watch.
It was.
Disappointing game for the, great game, but no game in a medal round should be determined by a shootout.
Absolutely. You know what? Round robin? Sure. Why not? Finals? You play until it's
continuous
done.
OT.
Absolutely.
The way I think it is, could you imagine losing the Stanley Cup because you lost a shootout?
Even Pat Kane was saying that today when he was on. I think it was Hockey Central at noon. I happened to listen to it at work. He was saying, "No, it shouldn't be a shootout. Like you got to have it in."
It's a team sport. You win and lose as a team, not in an individual skills effort.
Absolutely. But for the tournament as a whole, one thing I was noticing was that because they got it in Toronto and Montreal again. Is that there were a lot of empty seats.
And Hockey Canada did put out an announcement that they're looking at their ticket prices for next year. Because if you actually look at the ticket prices, I could understand why the seats were empty.
They're minimum a couple $100.
Certain seats you could only get if you bought like a 9-game package.
Come on.
So if you wanted to go to a Canada-US game, you had to buy package to every single game that was there, which were $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. Yeah.
I know I sure as hell don't have that kind of money, but it's a pattern lately. They're going for bigger cities because bigger arenas, they're making more money. But the fact is that the next one that was going to be in Canada, which not next year, the year after, it was between London or Vancouver.
And Vancouver won.
Because they got the bigger arena, right? But you think about it, where are you going to sell out?
Yeah.
Consistently for at least 9 out of 10 games.
You need to keep the World Juniors in junior cities.
Absolutely. Smaller town cities where there's nothing to do. Like London. I don't mind London. It's a good city. Nothing to do.
Right.
So if there's a big hockey tournament, you go see that.
Like when the Memorial Cup here, it was insane.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime they hold something like that here, the city goes mad.
But not even just London, just smaller hockey markets like Red Deer
or anywhere out west.
Anywhere that's not a 18 to 19,000 seat arena.
Anywhere out in the prairies, basically.
Yeah, like
Halifax as well.
Halifax, yeah.
Yeah, you get great crowds there and great atmosphere.
These NHL cities, these people, they're just expecting so much that they think that the quality is worth. Mind you, the quality of hockey is worth paying that.
You know what?
But it's not at the same time.
Yes and no, because in the sense that it's not as good, but it's more entertaining.
Oh, for sure. And especially when it's in Canada and it's like an international tournament where you're rooting for Canada, but at the same time, that's not something I would much rather sit at home with friends, spend a few $100s on a couple cases of beer and some food, than spend the same couple $100 just to get in the door to sit in the nosebleeds.
Meanwhile, you're still spending another probably $50 to $100 on food and beer. And
I know it's
parking.
It's insane. And the parking is around these places like that ain't cheap.
No, it's not.
Parking in a junior city, you're looking at $10, $15, $20. Some of these places are like $40 to park.
Minimum.
It's insane. They need to not only look at the ticket structure and the prices, but they also need to look at just smaller venues.
They're seeing the possibility, and they've got just dollar signs.
That's the only that they have tunnel vision. They have gold medal trophy and all that at the end, and on the right, everything's being blocked off by green money signs. That's it.
Absolutely, and they need to re-examine that, and I think they do need to go to smaller hockey markets again.
That's what I think.
Can you imagine if it was going to be in London, not next year, but the year after?
It would be insane.
I'd be buying my tickets now.
Yeah.
I don't even have the money. I would not even pay my rent.
I would pawn something off. I'd pawn something of yours off.
I'd cut out your kidney and sell it on the black market.
And plus, when you have it in a smaller venue like that, you get such a different feel to it.
Oh, such a better atmosphere. Like, I know in the Bell Center it was phenomenal, but that was for the final.
Yeah.
I think there were still empty seats in there.
There was, but not as much as...
No, not as many, but...
I don't know, like, sometimes going to a London Knights game in for example, like the Memorial Cup or in 2005, or even the OHL Finals last year in London... Yeah. watching that compared to a few Leafs games or a few Colorado games I've been to, the atmosphere was more vibrant, was more...
The problem with Leafs games is that if you go to the ACC, the atmosphere is for shit. Because most of the people going, they're not the most active people when they're up. Unless it's maybe a Saturday night. You get some other
a lot of times
out,
during the week, too, it's like business meetings.
Yeah,
or...
exactly. It's people that have just come from the office and they're not really willing to cut loose. Like, why the hell not? That's why you go.
The one thing I have noticed with the ACC is when the other team scores one goal, it is so quiet.
Yeah.
They don't try and pump the team up. Like, it's literally... Like, when Montreal went up 2-0, it was... I couldn't believe how quiet it was. It was insane. Like, it sounded like the Rangers arena, like Madison Square Garden, is really quiet.
But but part of me thinks that's just the level of fan that you have, in the sense that you're going to know it if your fans aren't happy with you and they expect a level of play. And
that's what the Toronto fans have been known for a long time.
Well, exactly. Despite the fact that we haven't won anything in over 50 years, at points in that length of time, we've had some really good teams. And we're starting to get a really good one again, where, the atmosphere is getting better. You look at BMO Field, right, when they were playing there. First off, that's a great, great stadium in MLS. But until, I think it was Komarov got that first goal, after they got that goal, man, that stadium was rocking.
Oh, yeah. They
until that time, it was quiet and it was nervous.
Their mood swings are...
Yes,
they can change on a dime.
We are quite moody. I will admit that. But anyways, getting back to the World Juniors here, I want to go through some of the players that kind of stood out to me in the little bit that I watched, and we'll start off with Canada because that's our team. Those are the people we really care about, and I want to talk first about Dylan Strome, because he's been built up as this number one center, phenomenal player, and he, for some reason, is incapable of turning it on when it matters most.
Yeah, and
that's what it seems to me, at least.
I got that feeling too. Like when it was 5-on-5, he sometimes seemed lost on the ice.
Yeah.
I mean, he shined when it was the power play or
Absolutely.
whatever, but 5-on-5, it just seemed like he couldn't. Like when the puck came to him,
slow.
It was bouncing. Like I don't know if it's just bad luck for him, but
he seems slow and a couple of seconds behind everything. Is what it seemed to me. I'm no hockey expert, but that he just he seemed a little lost there, and he was dependent on to take over a game, to be able to take control of a game, take the Canadian team by the scruff of their necks and will them on to win.
Yeah, and
it didn't happen.
It didn't. I mean, he had a few key goals, but again, they were mostly power play goals.
Yeah, exactly. And their power play was really good.
It was phenomenal.
But their power play was good because of the next player I want to talk about, who is Matt Barzal.
The way he moves the puck around on the power play, even with a guy chasing him or a guy on him, the way he can move
like
the puck,
Mitch Marner.
He's like Mitch Marner mixed with the hands of like Connor McDavid on the power play.
Yeah.
The way he was doing some of that stuff, especially for his age.
Unreal.
There were so many times where I thought for sure when he was like tiptoeing the blue line that it was going to get poked off, and somehow he just kept it in and continued skating.
Yeah, his skill level is just off the charts, and a little jealous of the New York Islanders right now, but you just know they're going to ruin him.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother topic, but hopefully he doesn't, change his style of play, because he's phenomenal to watch.
Absolutely. He really exciting. He had a great tournament. I think it's only going to push his stock with teams higher. If anyone wants to try and trade for him, please try and trade for him. But next player I want to talk about is Carter Hart, the goalie, because Canada always seems to have an issue with goalies. Now, I think a good portion of that is because Hockey Canada has not set down a strict set of rules for how goalies get taught. Because anywhere that you go, every little goalie coach has their own personal mafia fiefdom, and they keep their knowledge secret, and that's what they teach, and that's what you got to pay big money to learn, right? Whereas you look at some places like Russia, Finland, that are setting down specific things that they are taught, and they're starting to churn out some really good goalies. But Carter Hart, I thought, did very well. The problem is that the Canadian coach didn't know who to play.
That was one thing that I said was that Connor Ingram shouldn't have played the game against the U.S. It should have been Carter Hart.
Should have been Carter Hart the entire time. Like, aside from the second game, okay, you play the second game, whatever. Yeah, Carter Hart let in a couple of soft goals against, I think it was Russia.
Yeah,
but he still shut it down.
Yeah.
Like, he's had a shaky start, but finished well. So I don't understand what he was doing. He was flip-flopping back and forth until Carter Hart took over the game against... I'm trying to think who it was.
It was
Czech Republic.
It was in the semifinals.
Yeah.
It was the Czech Republic.
Or Sweden. No, Sweden.
It was Sweden because it was Ingram who got the start. One thing Canada hasn't really had a really dominant goalie in the World Juniors pretty much since like Price or even Pogge.
Just had to bring up Pogge, didn't you?
Well, he was a great goalie for Canada.
Yeah,
he even won the Spengler Cup this year for Canada.
Because he's a great goalie. But Carter Hart was the guy. So I sometimes wonder, going back over the past few years, is it that you're not giving the goalies a chance to, like, you got to pick one guy and just roll with them unless things are going really bad.
I think what the issue was both goalies were really hot coming in. Both goalies, Ingram was one of the leading goals against average and save percentages, I believe, in the OHL. So they didn't really know who to start because both goalies were so good. So I think that is one of the issues. And then it doesn't help that the coach didn't really seem sure of his whole game plan.
He seemed unsure the entire tournament, which is frustrating.
Yeah, it is, especially from a country like Canada that is, hockey-centric.
You know what? I heard this, and I think it was on Merrick vs. Wyshynski, where they said I think it was Jeff Merrick suggested that they have one goalie, or not one goalie, excuse me, one coach set aside to coach the World Juniors. Because, was it Dominic Ducharme?
Ducharme, yeah.
Who was the coach this year? He's got his own team to worry about. So he's not focused on Canada the entire time coming in.
Yeah.
Whereas you got a guy like one of the Sutters, maybe. Who knows? Who, yeah, he's not really doing anything right now, but, you hire him, he goes through, scouts everyone during the season.
Spends the whole year focused on it.
See who he wants, right? And yeah, I know you've got your own scouts to go and do that, but you know what? Coach likes to make their own decisions, go and see a few of the games, what have you. And I wonder if that's maybe the way they need to go. Hockey Canada has more money than they ever need, I'm assuming.
I would imagine.
It's Canada, hockey's huge here. So why don't you use some of that to hire a coach full-time for the World Juniors?
Yeah.
Maybe just on a year-by-year basis, who cares? But from January until the next December, you've got one guy scouting out who he wants.
Yeah, that would be fair. I believe that would always put a solid game plan months in advance.
Absolutely.
Or, depending on who you choose, obviously. But before the tournament starts, when you have your team, you know what you want.
You know what you want, and you know what the other teams have. Because you'll probably have seen some of the other players too. You'll probably have scouted some of your opposing teams.
Yep.
You'll be better informed. And I wonder if it was that Ducharme was just uninformed about what he had, or just wasn't totally sure on what was available to him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which was very frustrating because, but you know what? Good things came out, like Philip Myers, who
good and bad.
Good and bad in the sense that good, he had a great start to the tournament. It was looking phenomenal. Bad, he got taken out by some, guy from the U.S. who plowed him into the boards.
And it was kind of a late hit. It was a few seconds late.
Totally. But that guy's going to be huge, I think, down the road for Philadelphia.
No relationship to Tyler Myers. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. Wasn't really wondering, but good to know. Good to know. But it was too bad that was cut short, because I think he would have had a really good tournament, but the guy who had a phenomenal tournament on the back end there was Thomas Chabot.
With that final game against the U.S., he played 40 minutes or
closer to 45.
Yeah, and
unbelievable.
And also named the tournament MVP. That's a defenseman is pretty good.
That's like Duncan Keith numbers in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's even more than some of Duncan Keith's minutes.
Absolutely.
And he wasn't just hitting back; he was a game changer for the whole game too. He was, causing turnovers. He was, making the stick checks. He was getting there, contributing on offense. To me, he was, obviously for me, what I was looking forward to watch as a Colorado fan was Tyson Jost.
Yeah, he didn't do too bad.
And Thomas Chabot was the next one I wanted to watch because he's phenomenal to watch and just you see it on display.
I hope he gets a real shot with Ottawa next year because that'll be good for him.
Could you imagine him and Carlson together?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it, man. That's like stuff of my nightmares right there. But another guy who had a really good tournament was Nikolai Waugh.
He is a speedy little fucker.
He's a beast on the face-off.
On the face-offs, I don't know what his percentage was, but every time
I think it was like 60% at least.
But anytime there was a loose puck, I was always as soon as I saw him take off, I didn't even have to see the back of his jersey. I say that's Nikolai Waugh. Just how fast he was and how first, second, third stride in his skates and he was gone. Kind of not as finesse-like, but he skated like Nathan McKinnon. He was ridiculously fast. So he's also going to be fun to watch in the next few years as well. And
I can't for the life of me remember who drafted him because I think he is drafted.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Point. But they got a good one there. And same with Anthony Cirelli. Man, he is a heart and soul guy. And he was phenomenal on that, what was their fourth line on Team Canada. But I can't believe he's in Tampa Bay. Oh my God!
Tampa Bay had seven prospects on Team Canada or something like that.
Well, I think the whole tournament. I think over the whole tournament they had that many players.
I can't think of his name right now. He plays for Anaheim, but Cirelli reminds me of Cogliano.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Cogliano, the heart and soul guy, kind of quick, good on the puck. Doesn't necessarily have the greatest shot, but he's really good at everything else. So he kind of makes up for it. And
he's an Iron Man too.
Yeah,
I think he's gone several hundred games.
Cogliano, Cogliano's he's played forever without missing any games. And Cirelli's game kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
You know what makes me feel really old right now is that I remember watching Cogliano when he was playing in the World Juniors.
Do you remember when he didn't make the World Juniors?
No.
The 1 year he didn't make it, and everyone was like, "Oh," and then it was all upsetting. And then I was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. 1 second here. Let's see how we're doing for time. I want to talk real quick just about, before we kind of end things off here, just about Rasmus Dahlin. Because 16 years old, he was an absolute game changer. I would put up kind of almost along the lines of Erik Karlsson-esque and the way that he could change the game. But man, did Sweden use him weird.
They didn't use him in the Canada game until there was 10 minutes left in the third period.
I get you want to get some fresh legs out there. You want to keep them fresh, but he could have done something earlier.
Yeah, especially because I think he got an assist on one of Sweden's goals a few minutes after he came on. But right after that, I can't remember who it was for Canada. Canada kind of had a guy that didn't really play the entire game too, and in his first shift, he got an assist as well. But no, that
Michael McLeod or Taylor Radish or something.
It wasn't Taylor Radish. Radish played a lot for power play and whatnot. I believe it was McLeod.
Probably.
But yeah, that Dahlin, I just couldn't believe that. 16, I understand that you're kind of protecting him, whatever, but
let him play.
Let him play. It's the World Juniors. I know he could still play at the under 17s or whatever, but
he's still got 2 years though.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the point of keeping him on the bench and using him for the last 10 minutes? I understand getting fresh legs out.
So weird.
But at least give him 1 or 2 shifts a period. Give him a minute, 2 minutes a period if you're going to do that.
You know what though? He keeps playing like he was, and that's someone that the Avs need to tank for. I don't know if it's next season or the year after, but that's someone that the Avs could use. That's for sure.
Yeah, they could. They really need a lot of defensive help.
That they do. So, that was a big story of the World Juniors was Rasmus Dahlin, coming out 16, changing things up like that and being a big
It's always
big
funny
impact.
when you can tell when they're young, when they skate out with their full cages on.
Yeah. It is kind of funny to see that. Just speaking about helmets for a second, you know what I thought was a little weird was that when Thomas Chabot lost his helmet in the overtime, he couldn't touch the puck. He had to skate to the bench.
If you touch the puck, it's a penalty, apparently.
It's ridiculous.
So he skated to the bench, and then he put on a training helmet that he had from prior to the game.
If you were playing in the NHL, it wouldn't matter.
No, but I think just the juniors are protecting whatever.
I get that, but they're at an age where they're practically pros.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't get that rule. It's international. The rules are weird sometimes.
Oh, their rules are weird. Get rid of the shootout.
They did say that they were looking at ways of altering that, which the only way I can really think of is keep it in the
continuous OT.
Yeah, for the medal games and
ridiculous. I'm just tired of the shootout in general. I know we've talked about it before, but just get rid of it everywhere.
Needs to go. I would like 3-on-3 overtime.
Indefinite,
yeah.
Which isn't realistic, but whatever. But you know what? I think we've hit the end of. We've been going a good length of time here today, so we're gonna leave it off. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, regular service will be resumed.
Now that the holidays are over and it's back to our boring lives.
Exactly, after all that craziness. So, you know what? Hopefully some fun stuff will happen. All-Star games coming up. We can talk about that a little bit next week. And some